Hi guys, PJ from Roland here, and today I'm going to be taking you through the new SP404 Mark II firmware 2.0. There are some really cool features in this update, so let's jump straight in. So here we are in the standard playback mode, and if we choose a sound and then go into the chromatic mode by pressing Shift and pad 4, we can then play the sound chromatically over the pads. You'll notice how each time we play the sample, it will cut the other sample off. But if we press the remain button now, we can choose from legato mode or from poly mode. In legato mode, when you press a second pad, the sample will continue to play, but it will change in pitch to the pitch of the new pad you have pressed. If we press remain again, we can go into poly mode. In poly mode, you can play multiple pads at the same time with a maximum polyphony of 32 voices. This gives you a lot of creative flexibility in creating chords with your samples. You can also change the scale by pushing in the value knob. This will mean that the pads will only play the notes in that scale. So this is very useful for staying in key. One of the biggest new features of this update is the pattern sequencer now has a TR-Rec step sequencer. This now exists alongside the real-time pattern recording and lets you enter sounds into your patterns by selecting individual steps on the sequencer. Both modes can be used to edit patterns, so you can choose which mode you want to use depending on the tools that you need at that time. To use the TR-Rec sequencer, first enter the pattern select screen, then press record to record a new pattern, choose an empty pad to record to, and then look at the recording settings screen. Here we can change the BPM using Control Knob 1. We can change the length of the pattern by using Control Knob 2. This now goes up to a massive 64 bars. But for this demo, I'm going to keep it on 1 bar. But if you're working with more than 1 bar, turn the value knob to move between your bars. You can also change the shuffle amount by using Control Knob 3. If you hold down the Shift button, you will get a secondary menu where you can change the time signature, which has now some really cool timings like 7/4. And you can use Control Knob 3 to change the metronome volume. At the bottom of the display, you will notice it says real time. If we press the remain button, it will change the mode to TR-Rec mode. Press record again and we're ready to record our pattern. We are now in the TR-Rec step editor, as you can see by the indicator light flashing across our pad steps. To choose a sound, press the sub pad. This will then open up our sound banks and we can choose a sound. Choose a sound and then let go of the sub pad to enter the steps into our 16-step sequence. We can also change the velocity of our hits using C3 and enter these into the pattern. Let's press the sub pad now, choose an open hat and add some hats into our pattern. Let's do the same for the claps. I'm also going to add some extra percussion now. As you may have noticed, there's a menu item called Substep. We can control this by using Control Knob 1. And as you can see, there is a lot of different substep variations. These substeps range from double and triple hits to sample offsets and more. Using these settings, we can now add rhythmical variations into our patterns on certain hits. So I'm going to change the substep to a slightly offbeat timing. and add a hit on step 12. And then I'm going to change it to default timing and add a hit on step 15. Another really cool feature is you can now motion record certain values into the TR-Rec mode. I'm going to press in my sub pad again. I'm going to choose my hi-hat here. And then I'm going to add it on every step of my sequence. Now, if I hold down roll and I turn the C3 knob, this will motion record my volume across my hi-hat hits. You can also motion record for substeps and for pitch as well. So let me record a pitch variation in as well. I'm going to press the sub pad to choose a new sample now. And this time I'm going to go for a melodic sample, a bass. With the new update, it is now also possible to change the pitch of samples for each step by using the C2 knob. You can also change the scale you're using by pushing in the value knob, and change the root key by pushing in the value knob and turning. So I'm going to enter hits on 1 and 7, and then I'm going to change the pitch to +5 and enter another hit on pad 15. As you can hear, the two samples are being played at different pitches. I'm going to go back in now and choose another sample, this pad sample, and I'm going to enter a hit on pad 1. At the moment, the sample is only playing for the duration of pad 1 and then stopping, therefore we can't even hear it because of the attack time. We want this pad to play for the entire sequence, so if we press the remain button, you can see the substep changes to hold step. If I change this value now to 16, and I take my pad off, when I put it back on, it means the pad will play from pad 1 and it will hold all the way to pad 16. Now when I enter the hits back into the pattern, you will hear it plays for the full 16 measures. Now if we press exit and we go back into our pattern select menu, you can hear the pattern is still playing. If we press the record button now, we will jump into the real-time recording mode and we can edit the same pattern further. Another really cool feature that has been added in the new update is the ability to record chromatically into our patterns. If I press record again, we can enter rehearsal mode and we can choose a sample. I've selected this chord here. Then if we press shift and pad 4, we can enter chromatic mode. Now we can play the sample over the pads melodically. When we are ready to record, we can press record again and enter the notes into our pattern. In the new update, the undo steps have now been increased from 8 to 16. So now there is twice the amount of undo. So if you add something by accident, it is very easy to remove by pressing shift and pattern select. In the pitch speed menu, there are now new time stretching algorithms. These have been based off our legendary VariPhrase algorithm. So you can now stretch a sample's pitch and time with superior sound quality and less audio degradation. To select a different algorithm, press shift and then turn the value knob. The first option is backing. This is suitable for instruments with a clear attack, such as drums. The next option is ensemble. This is good for sustain type instruments such as bass or pads. It is now possible to change the values of multiple sounds at the same time. To do this, add all of the sounds you want to change to a mute group by pressing Shift and pad 8. When you enter the pitch speed menu, if you hold the copy button, your mute group will flash. Now, if you change any of the control knobs, those settings will be changed across all the sounds in your mute group. You can also use this technique to change the volume, the BPM value, BPM sync, gate, loop, or reverse of multiple sounds at one time. There are 4 new awesome MFX in this update. You can get to them quickly by pressing MFX and Isolator and then pressing one of the pads. First we have SX Reverb. Next we have SX Delay. Then we have Cloud Delay. And then we have my favourite, Backspin. There is now also the option to change the reverse style to the version from the SP303. You can change this option in Utilities, System, and then General. Scroll down to Reverse Type. With the 303 reverse mode on, the reverse button will trigger an immediate reverse, continuing from the current playback point. There has now been a new harmony effect added to the input effects. This means you can add this to your signal whilst recording. To access this, go to the input settings screens by pressing Shift and external source, then push in the value knob. You can then choose the harmony effect from the menu. With this effect, you can change the pitch and formant of your voice, as well as adding extra voices at pitched values in the key of your choice. This is great for people who want to add thickness and depth to their vocals or recordings. Now, when editing samples using the Start End screen, you can snap to the 0 crossing point of the wave by pressing the Resample button. This helps you to eliminate pops and clicks when trimming your samples. You can now recall a massive 40 seconds of skip back audio. To allow this change, go to the Utility menu by pressing Shift and Pad 13, then choose System, General, and then change SBS time to long. On previous firmware, to stop all sounds playing on the SP, you would press the Exit button 4 times. This function can now also be accessed by using the quick command of Shift and Exit. There has been an awesome update to the DJ mode on this new firmware that means you can now DJ using your patterns. So let's start by going into DJ mode by pressing bank D and J together. I'm then going to load a wave track into channel 1 by pressing in the value knob and do channel 1 select. I'm going to choose my drum loop here. So let's start that playing. Then if we press pattern select and choose the pattern that we would like to mix, then when you press pattern select again, that pattern will be loaded for you to play. You can then use the pads to control the pattern just like you would if it was an audio track. If you would like to go back to your wave tracks, just press Pattern Edit. Another awesome new feature of DJ Mode is if you press the Start and End button, you can now use the C3 knob as a crossfader to mix out your tracks perfectly. Another new feature that's been added to DJ Mode is the quick loop function. To activate the quick loop, hold down the roll button and press pad 13 for channel 1 or pad 15 for channel 2. Now if we press roll again, we can change the speed of our loop by pressing pads 1 to 4. You can see the loop has been activated in the screen here. Now if I press and hold roll again, I can change the speed of our loop by pressing pads 1 to 4. For any additional information, as always, please visit the SP404 Mark II page on the Roland.com website. Thanks a lot for listening, and I hope you enjoy the update.